The Federal Reserve now sees an upside risk to additional inflation. That is a major problem. And I want to address what's going on here, why this is a huge issue, and what was just said today. First, all I ask is if you enjoy these daily updates, do me a favor, go ahead and hit that like button. Now let's get started with this. The Federal Reserve's goal is to get inflation down to just 2%. A month ago, we were at 3%. Today, we're sitting at 3.2%, which means inflation has gone down from 9.1% down to 3%, and now it's ticking back up just a little bit, but it's still sitting at 3.2%. Now, why is this an issue? It's an issue because the hardest thing to do is get inflation from 3% down to 2%, because it's likely going to cause something called a recession, could cause additional unemployment, it could cause more inflation. But here's the big thing. Look at this. We're seeing new layoffs all across the board. Everybody is laying people off. And the hardest thing right now is how do we stop this from happening and continuing moving forward? Well, the first thing is if we see additional rate hikes, that would be devastating because millions and millions of employees could potentially be at risk of a layoff. Well, that's exactly what is happening here. That's why I wanted to show you this. This is out today. This is August 16th. This was put out today. The reason why this is such a big deal is because if the Fed is now saying there could be additional rate hikes, that means we are now on the verge of additional layoffs. Now, here's what's interesting about layoffs. Many workers decide it's just time to lay off their employees. They need to make more money. They need to be more profitable. So the first thing we need to do is just lay off employees. But look at this. This came out from Fortune just the other day. It says many workers facing a layoff would accept a 25% pay cut to keep their jobs. But 97% of bosses don't even ask. Even the researchers are stumped why. Now, I thought this was interesting. When I saw this the other day, I thought, you know what, I need to look into this. So I did. I asked a few people that do own businesses that have gone through recent layoffs, and I asked them, hey, have you ever considered just asking your employees to take a pay cut? And one of them said yes, he has considered it, but didn't think his employees would accept it, and so they just went through layoffs. Another person who actually runs is a manager of a JCPenney store, she said, when I asked, have you ever considered just doing pay cuts? She said that it was in talks, but no, they didn't do it. I don't know exactly where the JCPenney store is, but I do know it's still open. Another person, I asked the same question. Have you ever considered doing just a pay cut? And they said that no, they didn't cut pay. What they did was cut hours. They cut hours, not pay. Essentially, it made the business a little more profitable, but they paid the people less. They just got less work. But what they did instead of that is they did lay off a few people, and then those tasks that those people were performing, they put those and piled them on to other employees. So essentially, they got the same amount of work for less pay. Okay. Now, the reason why this is such a big deal is because 97% aren't even asking that question. But if workers are willing to accept a 25% pay cut just to keep their job, that's massive. But one of the reasons why they're willing to do that is because unemployment is not paying you 100%. Unemployment today is not paying you, the 65, 75% like they normally do. And then on top of that, giving you a supplemental bonus like $400 or $600 per week. No, that was pandemic money. We don't have that today. So that's a huge issue. But here's what is happening. And this is something that I've seen from many people here on YouTube, from many community members. They're seeing this at their local store, at their local Walmart. Look at this. It says, wrong button. It says Walmart plans automation amid layoffs, slower sales during 2023. This is from an investor meeting. Okay, now this is actually from April. The reason why I wanted to just show you this is because that was in April. They're planning automations. Guess what? We had May, June, July, August. It's 4 months. You know what we're seeing now? Walmart is not just planning automation, they're implementing these things. You go into a Walmart now, you're going to see a lot more self-checkout. Go into a Target, a Costco, you're going to see more self-checkout. And we're seeing this because it's actually going to bring the cost down over the course of 5, 10, 15 years. So expect that to happen. Expect more layoffs as the Fed does decide to raise rates because they feel that this is something that is coming. Because as CNBC noted just today, there are upside risks. And we'll dive into that in just a second. But with these upside risks, there's a higher chance that the Fed is going to continue to hike rates. Now, I do want to read you a couple things. Okay, I want to read you this right here. Look at this. It says, with inflation still well above the committee's longer run goal and the labor market remaining tight, most participants continue to see significant upside risks to inflation, which could require further tightening of monetary policy. Think about that. We are currently struggling. Businesses are struggling. There's layoffs happening. Now, again, I talked about this the other day. We may not be seeing layoffs of, Walmart's laying off 10,000 employees. Microsoft laying off 5,000 employees. We're not seeing those big headline numbers. What we're seeing are things like this. Okay? We're seeing layoff notices start at Hartford-based health insurer Aetna. Or more cyber companies announce layoffs. Dell Technologies is going to lay off some of their sales team. Phillips 66 is going to lay off 100 Bardsville employees. CoinDesk is expecting layoffs. Bud Light, their parent company, announces layoffs in wake of brands' woes. Or Funko, right? They're laying off 180 workers. These are the things that we're seeing. Again, not headline numbers, not front page news, but we are seeing hundreds of layoffs here, 50 there, 60 there, 85 there, 20 here. And I've said this before, that's not making the news. But there's more small businesses than large corporations. So if every small business has to lay off 20% of their staff, has to lay off, let's say, 2 people, they have 10 employees, they're going to lay off 2. If 100,000 businesses did all this, just laid off 2 people, again, it's not going to make headline news, but it's going to affect the economy. That's the difference. Okay? Now, I want to read you something else from this article from CNBC. It's actually from the document, the Fed's monthly meeting, their minutes from last month. Look at this. It says, in discussing the policy outlook, participants continue to judge that it was critical that the stance of monetary policy be sufficiently restrictive to return inflation to the committee's 2% objective over time. Again, keyword here is over time. The other one is sufficiently restrictive. They don't want to stimulate the economy. They want the economy to pretty much suffer, which means you and I are going to suffer as well. Now, right now, what is being said is there's a lot of uncertainty. There's a lot of uncertainty regarding the banks. How are the banks going to do? There's already talks that some are currently on the verge of failing. There's a lot of uncertainty regarding consumer spending. Do we continue to spend? Is that money that's put aside in savings and checking, is that money that we're just waiting to put it back into the markets? Or is that actually savings? Those are emergency funds. We don't know that yet. The next concern, what's the stock market going to do? If it's anything what happened today, it's potentially selling off. Or the big concern, real estate. Is real estate going to crash? If it does, how bad is it going to crash? Right now, we don't know. But I promise I will stay up to date on everything that's going on. I will fill you in on all the latest news and updates. All you gotta do is two things. First off, hit the like button on this video if you enjoyed today's update. Also, click that subscribe button so you never miss an update, and I'll see you guys on the next one.